All right, everyone, welcome to another episode of Sasquatch Watch Radio. Today is March the 4th, 2024, and we have a wonderful guest with us tonight. So without further ado, let's bring on our guest, Mr. Sean Forker, a good friend of mine for many years. How you doing, Sean?
Billy, I am great, my friend, and it's great to be here with you. It's been a long time, buddy,
It
a
has.
very long time.
It sure has. So I already got a comment there for you.
Love the Forker family. It's the family's not growing anymore. I think I'm the only growing member of our family, and that's this way. And I wore black tonight because it's slimming. So, um,
Right. Don't feel bad, Sean. It happens to all of us.
right, man.
It's just that
We
it's
go
just
way
that old
back,
age.
Billy.
I know. It's a
Way
long
back.
time. Yeah, we're back in the early 2000s.
Yeah,
I tell
before
you.
all this. Before all
Yeah,
of this, it was a crazy time back then when we actually had to, meet in person and go to conferences and meetings and actually get out into the field and do research. It was a
yeah,
different
that's
time.
right. A lot different time. We had old trail cameras that was not much different than a remember the real bad phones that took the real bad pictures. Well, what the trail cameras were like, grainy.
But if we had Nextel, you always had service in the woods, no matter where you were at.
That's right. Yeah, I miss the old Nextels, even though they
and
didn't have very great
and back
other
then, you had to
features.
read books. Now books read themselves to you.
Yeah, Brian, we're a bunch of old folks now.
Right, we
So
are.
it happens. Nothing you can do to stop it. So,
I
Sean,
think
it's good to see you again. I know that you've been busy with the Sasquatch experience, and tell me a little bit about this new semi-pro, because that came along after the fact, after I left.
right. Yeah, semi-pro squatchers is kind of a tongue-in-cheek loose association of researchers that just get together and we Bigfoot Billy. We're not formal. We have a little bit of a website to kind of just get some sighting reports, but really, in a field that people promote themselves as professionals and experts, you and I have been around the horn long enough to know that's just not the case. But you know
Yeah.
me, I've also had a great sense of humor. So if I'm going to make fun of it, I'll start making fun of it with myself. And that's where semi pro came from. We're not quite professional, we're semi professional.
That's right. That's right. Nothing wrong with that. Well, that's
And
good. I'm glad that you're still out there at it.
yeah, I mean,
Uh,
we have a great group, man, of, James Baker still tromping the woods with me. My good friend Matt Arner, who's in law enforcement, he's out there. Actually, Matt's probably more active than everybody, always trying to
mm,
find us new places. We got Gwen Purcell of Got Knockers. She's getting leads all the time. Stephen Carey Aker, they're tramping about the United States, hiking. I mean, we got a good group of people, Bill, and we just get together and have a good time. And that's what it's about, bringing the fun and
yep.
sense of community back to Bigfoot research in a
That's,
small way.
that's right. And that's what we always used to talk about. We'd go on
Right.
these adventures, and we'd have a good time, have a cookout, you know, cook some food. That always makes it even better, of course.
Somebody would fall in a hole.
Somebody fall in a hole. I was
Right.
actually talking to Phil about that the other day.
I'll never forget that. But guys, Billy and I and a friend of mine, Matt, not the Matt we were just talking about, and Phil, we're all at Gray Station in Pennsylvania. Probably what, '05 or '06, Billy?
Yeah, yeah,
There's a
something like
train
that.
coming through. Normally gets Baker. It got me tonight. I apologize for that train. But well, it's ironic because we were on train tracks. Gray Station is where this was happening, and
Right.
Matt and I were on the other side overlooking the soybean field. You and Phil were on the other side looking at the tree line. And we had some eye shine happening there, if I remember correctly. And as things are starting to amp up, all of a sudden we get this, hey guys, I fell in a hole. And Billy, without missing a beat, says, well, get out of it. And I'm, and that, but here he is. I come running up the little part of the hill to look down, and he's thigh high in a gopher hole. Like, but that was Phil, and so we had a lot of great times out there researching. I think we had rock throwing at us that night as we were
Yep,
walking back
we
to
did.
the cars. A lot of rain.
Right.
It started to really pour. In fact,
Yeah.
most of that weekend, if I remember correctly, was rain soaked, but it was a good weekend. And those are the memories you keep forever, man. Like, it's not
Oh
just
yeah.
about the Bigfoot research, it's the memories and
Yeah.
the experiences you have when you're out doing it, right?
Absolutely. That is absolutely right. And that's the most enjoyable part of this. Group of us get together and, camp out and just go out and,
Right.
in teams and going through the woods. And yeah, it's just, get a lot of laughs along the way. You just
Right.
can't beat
I
it.
think
Sometimes you get some good laughs, like, Bruce is along. You got plenty of laughs because there's plenty
Bruce.
of things to make fun of.
I love Bruce. He's such a good dude.
Hey, Randy, let me just do a quick shout out. So we got Randy Harrington. We got the world's greatest Bigfoot hunter, JC.
Oh, JC, our buddy.
We got Brian Corbin. Some of
Yes,
the
my
others are
man.
not to where I can't read some of their names because they're not showing up, but they're in there.
Click
So
that button,
good to
folks.
see
Let it
all
know
you
who you
guys.
are.
I know one thing. Randy Harrington's been busy. I
Dude,
tell you, I get
man.
an update. I get like 2 or 3 updates from him every day.
One, he's in phenomenal shape. All right. Makes me jealous. If his shape was a circle, I'd be okay, but he's in shape. But he's doing some good work out there. He really is. I got to get him on my program at some point because I
Yeah,
really am fascinated by the work he's doing, Bill. He's doing some great stuff.
yeah, I agree. I agree. Well, we'll have to me and you will battle over him. We'll see
There
who
we
gets
go.
him.
Yeah, you like back in the day, right? It's back in the day. Like, folks don't know. Like, Billy, we were some of the first podcasts on Bigfoot out there before the
Yeah. Oh yeah.
genre exploded. Like, it was Steve
Right.
and me, and then you, and then
Yeah.
Bob Coyne and Mike Killen came along, and it
Yeah.
was, I mean,
Yeah.
but it was different. Everybody had a
Yeah.
different rotation, and it was
Right.
fresh. But it was an exciting time because nobody had been doing
Yeah.
this. There was Monster Central for a little while, which had MK Davis or Lauren Coleman for a little bit, and then that tapered off. We would get together
Right.
in Yahoo groups and talk about Bigfoot, whatever we could find, whether it was a new
Right.
sighting report, some bull
Right.
crap going on the forums. And folks, we're talking, we
Yeah.
would spend nights. Our evenings would be stuck at that computer, and that's all we did
Yeah.
sometimes because that's
Yeah.
how that's how the community started. It
Yep. Yeah.
it was great times,
Yeah.
man. It was a different.
I
We
tell
were
you,
a brotherhood.
absolutely. Back in the day, the Yahoo groups was where it was at. I mean,
Forest
some nights
Giants.
we'd have a huge group of people on the Yahoo chat, and we would just be on there till way up in the wee morning.
Yeah. Substantive
So,
conversation too. And we didn't always agree on everything, but
yep.
at the same time we'd come together, and like when the hoaxing was going on, the X Zone radio show, we all jumped on there and set that record straight. And I mean, we've
Yeah.
always done, the intent was to always do well by the community and to give good
Yeah.
information and to protect what we could and
Yep.
try to be a sounding board and a good source of judgment and discernment. And sometimes we won,
Right.
sometimes we didn't, right? Like,
Right. I tell you what, Randy, I remember those days too. My
me
God,
too.
you just like wait and wait.
I kept people
Slow.
PC in business for the longest time.
Remember what was that one? Juno. Remember Juno?
Juno, yep. Remember Juno? Those were the days, man. Earthlink, we could name them all. We
Yeah. Right.
name your phone provider, folks. Your internet
Right.
service provider at the time.
Yeah, those were some good old days.
Yeah, they were a lot of
So
fun.
here we
And
are.
met some good
Here we
people.
are. Yeah.
Yeah, no, 20 years later, man. Think about that. Like when
Yeah.
we started all this stuff, 2000, the early 2000s, over 20 years. I was just telling you off air, I saw a poll the other day of somebody was asking, I think it was in the CARC, of how long have you been involved in the Bigfoot research? And, I told you, it kind of irritated me because I'm going on 30 years of being
Hmm.
in this research, and I'm sitting here seeing people click the 30-year button, and I don't know who the hell they are. I'm like, I don't remember you. Like, I don't know who you were. Like, just because you read a book doesn't mean you were involved in the search that long ago. So, like, I don't mean to get a little indignant over it, but I mean, let's call a spade a spade. And the problem is, Billy, when guys like, of our generation there kind of went away and did their own thing for a while, revisionist history took over. And
Oh yeah.
people have no respect for any of the battles that were fought on the Bigfoot forums. I told you we should get medals, for that. I mean, it was
Yeah,
some
we got some
trying
bruises.
times. Yeah, we're not talking about that rehashed Bigfoot forums in the mid 2000s. I'm talking about the early
Yeah,
2000s Bigfoot
right.
forums. Like, that was a cutthroat place, man.
Hmm. That's right.
S
Yeah, as a
Fort
matter of fact, I
1015, I could give you my handle.
think yeah, I remember. I think you become friends with Josh and Tim first.
Right, I
Uh,
did, because
yeah,
they were. I mean, I'm not that much older than Josh
right,
and Tim, really. I mean, and when Josh and Tim,
right.
if you remember when they had their sighting, they were on the telephone with me
Yes,
when
yes,
that happened.
yeah,
Like, I could validate everything those boys were saying.
right,
And so I
right.
felt it was my responsibility to kind of, be that steward and be that kind of presence that said, yeah, no, these boys are telling the truth. Like, this is what they experienced.
Hmm.
How do I know? Because by the power vested in us by Nextel, we were able to communicate in that time.
Yeah, I think one of them was talking to you on the phone, and the other one was talking to me.
Yeah, because we're trying to triangulate. And I mean,
Right,
it was a crazy time. And then, you talk
it
about
was.
being a defense attorney, like, thank God I didn't charge Johnny Cochran rates at that time, like that Bigfoot forums was a tough place. But there again, though, Billy, then you meet more people who start off being tough nosed and then end up being some of the coolest people. Right.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. But it's interesting. We talk about this. The thing that and I have to bring it up just because it's something that I feel needs to come out is we see some of the ones that we grew up in with this,
Right.
and we see the fighting,
Yeah.
we see the hate, the anger, and it's like, guys, come on, just get a grip, let's all gather somewhere and let's talk, you know.
You know, you're fighting over something that may or may not exist. And now you have differences of opinions, right? Because some of us have had experiences and some of us haven't. But like, to the
Right,
general public, the world does something that may or may not exist. So imagine how silly we look when to people on the outside looking in, where we can't even get along to talk about the subject little. And listen, I was guilty of
right.
that. Back in my younger days, Billy, I was a firebrand. Like, I didn't take a lot of that bull crap. Like, I would call it out
Yeah,
as it happens. The Bigfoot forums is still get. Oh, come on now, it's not the same. It's not the same. And how do I know it's not the same? Because half the guys are dead. That's how I know it's not the same.
yeah, especially one of the
Sadly,
main.
right. Sadly, it's true. Like, it's, we lost some good friends over the years too. Some
You
way
know
before
what?
their time.
Now that I'm thinking about it, whatever happened to Brian Brown?
Brian Brown is he's still. I saw a post from him not long ago. He left the
Okay.
North American Wood Ache group and he started something different. He's still around though. But again, you talk about a level-headed guy who just kind of wants to stay out of the BS, and that's what happens. You tend to, after a certain point, like, if you're in this for some sort of celebrity status, you need to get your head examined, because if
Yeah.
the only following you're getting is a cult following, and then by
Right.
that you probably need more help than you're going to get from anybody on TV, and um, it's just not going to happen. And you just got to be realistic. Like, the fame only exists in this pod. Outside of that, nobody gives a damn. And
Yeah.
so it's a real silly thing to fight about and get upset about. And really, a lot of the antics that happen is no different. Like, we've seen, because we've been around from the beginning of the community, everything comes full circle, and you see the same pedantic arguments and the same bullying and the same, not everybody's going to have the same thought patterns as you. I have gone from being a complete anti-woo person to woo cares. Like, I don't like, their belief doesn't affect me or what I believe. And I'll tell you,
Right.
sometimes the more I look into this, Billy, sometimes I don't know if I'm right about things. And maybe there is
Right.
another component to it. Do I believe it
Right.
so? No, but it
Right.
doesn't mean I'm right. And I can concede
Right.
that point.
Right. Yeah, I just think that sometimes when you feel like you're so far from reaching and touching proof,
Right.
you have to bring something else in because there's got to be a reason I can't get proof. So it's this, you know. But
And
hey, you know, some things took a lot of time to discover. You know, everything didn't just, you know, to see what's a panda bear. You know, just, I mean, when you stop and think about all the different things that were seen for many years before someone said, "Oh, well, they do exist. Here they are."
right. Well, the mountain gorilla was another example of that, right? The stories of that happened didn't come to like the early 1900s. The Billy ape in the 96, we turned out to be just an offshoot of a chimpanzee, but it was one scary ape.
Yeah,
And the
right,
thousands of species that are discovered all the time. Like there's no limits to really besides our own possibility in our own minds. Like human arrogancy is that we've discovered everything and the world's so small and we know everything. We really know nothing. Uh,
right,
we think we do. That's why it's all called scientific theory. We work it till it's proven, but it goes through a testing process, which doesn't mean that's right. It has to be tested to be right. And
right,
so there's a lot of steps in this process, and animal discovery is one of those things. I think some of us just have a passion because we saw something or we believed in something strong enough to investigate it, that there was a potential for something. And I was
right,
just that kid that read a book, Billy. Like I read a book, Sasquatch the Apes Among Us, when I wouldn't shut up on a road trip, and it was a book that changed my life. And to me, it convinced me to the fact that there was a strong possibility, and I spent 30 years investigating it. And in 30 years, Billy, I can promise you, I don't have evidence envy of any sort, right?
right,
There's no evidence envy on my sort. Uh, I've had a handful of encounters and experiences in this in 30 years. I
right,
question people that have it every day. I do,
right,
but that doesn't mean I'm right.
right,
Doesn't mean I'm right.
right. Hey, you can always be in the right place at the right time. You just never know.
And isn't
So,
that how most of it happens? I mean, let's be
yeah,
honest. That's probably how the majority of it happens. The right place at the right time.
right, right. So, speaking of that, you talked about, you know, encounters and things. So, tell us about 2012. Tell us about what just about made you stop.
Right. And I don't know when you quiet and exited the field at some point, Billy. I don't remember what year that was, but was it around that time too? Was it before or after that?
I can't remember. It's been about 10 years ago.
I
So,
would just find it hard I
what?
didn't talk to you about this. That's why I mentioned
Right,
that.
right, right.
I was part of the Pennsylvania Bigfoot Society at the time, Eric Altman in the group. And for years, and you've been a part of that group. You've been to the hot spots in
Yeah,
Pennsylvania. And
yeah.
that particular year, Clearfield County started blowing up again with sighting reports. Starting on New Year's Eve, 2011 into New Year's Day 2012, there was a double witness sighting 1 hour apart on the same highway. Both people indicating they saw a creature that had the same color white feet on it. That was the distinguishing feature between both. They could by the
Mhm.
whites of the feet. So we went and investigated that. We had a town hall at the over the mountain bar. Got some more witness reports there, and this reports were coming in through the year. Forgive me, I'm getting over a cold. I'm a fall guy. I'm not crazy about the summer because rattlesnakes and things that can actually kill you exist, and they're prevalent out there like you wouldn't believe. And so I'm a fall guy, and we started taking some weekend trips up. Weekend before we went out there, we took a small group up, and we thought we heard what was some, movement in the tree, something running around, and we thought we had some things thrown at us. So we thought, okay, well, we're up here at the right time. The following weekend, we're planning on coming up with a small group. It was myself, Dustin Kinley, Ray Hendershot, my brother Ray, and Eric Altman was out there that first night with Dave Rupert and Ryan Cavaline, all seasoned researchers, right? These are guys
Mhm.
with veterans of the research. And we're out there and, hanging out that first night. Not a whole hell of a lot's going on. So we're going to pack it up for the night because we're going to get up early the next morning. We think this creature is more of a nocturnal, early morning traveler in these areas. So we figured we'd get up and try to engage it when it was active.
Mhm.
Dave and Ryan had set up some game cameras, and Eric and them, they all took off and went home. They were going to come meet us the next day. Ray, Dustin, and myself decided we'd be bold and we'd camp in this meadow area that we went to get a permit for, and there was no meadow that they knew about on the map. So that should have been our first indicator something was wrong. But so we got the permit to camp in this spot. We built up a little fire, and the three of us are kind of sitting along the wood line. Ray's back is to the woods. Dustin's facing him, and my back's kind of to the area you come into the campsite. But we're triangulated, and there's a fire going on. Well, all of a sudden, I see something out of the corner of my eye run behind Ray through the campsite into the woods. Dustin sees the same thing, and he and I both at the same time jump over Ray, and run over to the side of the wood line to see what the hell we just saw and if we could hear it and see it. You could hear it take off, then you hear nothing. And we're like, well, what the heck did we just experience? Like, what was that? It was, Billy, it moved so quick. And it wasn't like the Pacific Northwest big lumbering.
Yeah.
It moved like I tell you, Billy, it glided like a sloth. It moved so fast and gracefully. And it was kind of taller, but it probably built like an NBA player. And it was a lighter color. And it just moved so quickly. I couldn't see the face on it or anything. I just saw the figure and how it moved. I'm like, my God, there's no way we just had a sighting. So we're sitting there in doubt, kind of, now perplexed at what's going on. And it's starting to get a little late. So we're like, listen, let's let the excitement die down. Let's go in. We're going to get up in a few hours. If anything, maybe we'll have some more luck when we get up.
Mm-hmm.
We get up, put the fire out, move the logs off the fire, get inside the tent. We're lying in the tent. About 45 minutes later, Ray's asleep. We hear something walking through the campsite. Now, it's not walking on 4 legs, Billy. It's walking on 2 legs.
Yeah.
And you know what something on 2 feet sound like.
Oh, yeah.
So all of a sudden, I see this little cell phone light pop up. I said, Dustin, you hear that? He goes, yeah, I hear it. I'm like, what the hell do you think it is? He goes, I don't know. So we're sitting there, and we hear it circle the campsite, and we're just lying there, and nothing. All of a sudden, we start seeing this orange glow from the bottom of the tent. Like, what the hell's going on? So Dustin jumps up, goes to get out of the tent. I'm starting to put my boots on. And here he opens the tent, and something had put the logs back on the fire, and the fire's starting itself back up. Now, we thought we had put that out, okay? So twofold, something moved those logs and put them back on the fire. And 2, we didn't do a very good job with our Smokey the Bear drills because we could have cooked ourselves up into sleep, not thinking about it, right? So I go to get out of the tent, and he yells, Sean, throw me my gun. So me, being the expert in firearm safety I am, I literally grab his gun and chuck it to him. And as I'm getting out, he goes, shit, look. And as I look over, this thing, same color as what ran through our campsite earlier, runs up this little hillside, and it starts taking off like a bulldozer bad out of hell around the perimeter of this campsite. We get Ray up, like, what the heck's going on? I jump and run to the center of the campsite because we're freaked out now. Like, this is the second encounter we've had with this thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I call Dave, couldn't get an answer. I get a hold of Dave's wife, and I said, Carrie, has Dave made it home yet? She goes, no, he's not made it home yet. I'm like, do you think you can get a hold of him? We got something going on out here, and we don't want to be out here by ourselves anymore.
Right.
So she goes, well, we'll try. So as we're sitting there kind of just in the middle of the night, shaking, wondering what the hell's going on, it tends to go off. A little while longer later, we see the flashlights and the camera of Ryan and Dave coming back down to the campsite. They meet up with us. And Dave, he could sell ice to an Eskimo in a good day.
Yeah.
We're all freaked out. He gets us calmed down. He goes, you guys know, like, if we can keep this going, we could get something here. He goes, so after he gets us calmed down, he goes, why don't you guys go back in the tent? We'll sit over here in the brush, kind of hide ourselves and camouflage ourselves. And if anything happens, we'll be here, but we'll be able to get it on film. Okay, Dave, sure. So we go in. We're in there for a while. Nothing happens. He radios to us, guys, you think we're going to take off for the night? You think you'll be okay till morning? We've been there for a while now. Nothing's going on. We're like, yeah, I think we'll be fine. They go off. Here we go. Maybe a half hour later, here comes this thing coming through the campsite again. Well, I don't even know how we got out of the tent. I don't know if we Kool-Aid manned it through the side of the tent or if we went through. We got out there and we started yelling at this thing. Dustin pointed his gun at it. I said, Dustin, shoot it now. And he goes, I can't shoot it, Sean. He goes, I don't know what it is. I'm like, I don't care. Shoot it. And he wouldn't shoot it. So, but we could see this thing with the light coming down on us. You could kind of see it like bobbing out from behind a tree every so often. And I'm like, I've really had enough of this thing. I said, guys, Ray, you're big. Let's charge at it. Let's give it a good old bluff charge. And sure enough, we moxied it together and we ran at that thing and screamed, and it bolted off like a bat out of hell. And then nothing happened. We're freaked out. We don't want to be here anymore. We have a couple hours till daybreak at this point, and it starts to rain. And I figured, well, now that it's raining, I'm sure we'll be fine. Nothing's going to bother us. So we get into the tent. Now, Ray went back to sleep a little bit. I don't know how, but he did. Dustin and I just kind of sat up there all night, the rest of the night. Strange flash of light we had that happened that was not lightning, non-localized. I thought maybe it was a game camera, right? Mm-hmm. So this thing came back at us, Billy. It scared the hell out of us. It didn't, not that it felt like it was going to harm us. It just, we weren't expecting it. And we were Bigfoot researchers out here at the time, okay? And we didn't expect to have you never expect to have an encounter, I don't think.
Yeah.
And it caught us so off guard. The thing that struck it with me is, up to that point, I was still very on the fence if it existed. To me, it's still kind of, I know people had sightings. I hadn't had an encounter with anything. How do I quantify this? What is this? And I didn't like how it made me feel. I felt vulnerable out there. And it really shook me up. And I got home, called Eric, called my wife, said, I'm coming home. You're coming home early. I don't want to talk about it. I'm just coming home. Yeah. And we got home. I didn't talk about it. Talked to Eric the next day, talked to Lon Strickler. And I had made up my mind I was done. I didn't want to do this anymore. Because, I know recounting the story now, and I throw the little jabs in there to make it funny, but it was anything but in the moment. It was very horrifying. And it really, I kind of maybe victimized myself in the process of it. Because I wasn't expecting it and I was so caught off guard. And because I had all these hesitations and doubts, it really messed with my mind that it actually happened. And then all of a sudden I'm hit with this empathy for people that have come to me over the years and said, I experienced something. And wow, you did. And now how am I going to move forward in this research and be objective? Is that going to be hard for me? And I'll tell you, it's been easier since I had my sighting to be more objective. It really has. Yeah. But I still get goosebumps telling that story. It freaks me out, man.
Yeah.
It was difficult. And the fact that I shared it with two other people very close to me, and they talked about it. They can go listen to one of our episodes. It's called Incident on Rockton Mountain. It's the only time I got Ray and Dustin to talk about it publicly is on an episode. And we have some visuals in there so people can see what we're talking about and probably get more to the story because I kind of brief over it. But it was something, Billy, and I almost quit. It was enough for me. And it wasn't until, the guys call you and, build your confidence back up. Oh, come on, we need you. Oh, okay, sure. All right. And I'm glad I stayed with it, but it did, and I almost stepped away from it for good. Pardon me.
Yeah, when you have something like that happen, you can't never plan how you're going to react.
No.
And that's what with this kind of thing, it's we can all say, oh yeah, I will be ready. I got the video camera, and I got the camera, and I got the recorder, but when it happens, it just, because you're expecting it to be no different than any other day that you sat out there and heard nothing but deer snorting at you or whatever.
Bill, here's the worst part. We had a Sony Handycam with night vision in the tent.
Yeah,
never grabbed it. Never grabbed it. We had a firearm. Dustin wouldn't shoot it. Dustin couldn't identify what it was. He's military trained. Right. He's not going to pull his trigger on a target. He doesn't know what it is, much to my chagrin. That's a good thing I didn't have the gun because I could have probably Barney fifed it and, who knows? I
made it real bad. Then you'd have really been in trouble.
Right. I mean, but we made it very clear to this thing that if you were a person messing with us, you're going to get hurt if you didn't identify yourself. Like, we were blatantly clear, which is why I think it scared me even more that it kept coming back. So I'm talking to David Rupert after this sighting happens, okay? And I said, Dave, if you go back and check those game cameras, you know, there was a flash that we saw. We might have got a picture of something out there. And Dave goes, Sean, none of those cameras had flashes on them. So I have no idea what that flash of light was. It wasn't lightning. I know what lightning, and it was localized. It was just something else, man. It was something. Yeah. And again, you add a mystery component to it you can't explain.
Right. But yeah, that's an interesting story. That's the first time I've actually heard you tell that story. So it's funny though how you first described it when you saw it first come through the camp, because that is the exact. I mean, I could almost play a recording and it would be an exact replication of what a lady here in Virginia saw.
Wow.
Her description was it was so fast and it glided like an ice skater.
Yeah.
That's how she described it.
Super quick. And it's very fluid. Like, it's built for its environment. Like, that's the only way I can continually describe it. Like, it knows its terrain. Like, and it's no different than, you know, you walking through your own house at nighttime with the lights off. You know, they say if a burglar breaks into your house, you're not supposed to turn the lights on, you know, because it'll stumble them up more and it'll stumble you up, right? Because you know your surroundings. Tell that to everybody who stubbed a toe in the middle of the night, but you get the gist of it. Like, it's the same thing with these creatures. They know their environment. They're suited for it. Like, how many times do you hear, besides Skip Frombach's story of the damn thing falling down the hill, how many times do you hear of a Bigfoot tripping and falling?
Yeah, exactly.
Doesn't happen, right?
It doesn't happen, or at least it's not in any of the sighting reports.
Right.
So, yeah, interesting story. Thanks for sharing that.
You're welcome, man. You know, I hate sharing it, actually. I don't like telling that story. I've only done it recently, and maybe 20 or so times I've told it. It's just personal, you know, and it bothers me still to this day because I don't have answers to it. I don't know.
Right. Well, I think that bothers all of us. You know, if you can't explain it, it's a problem. You know, so it's it bothers you. So thanks for telling the story. So now we'll cheer everybody up.
Woohoo!
And I always one of our traditions here is to let artificial intelligence write and sing a song for our guest.
Oh, how about this?
So I've got here's the first one. We'll play it.
All right.
In the heart of Pennsylvania, on the tree so tall, there's a man named Sean Porter. He's got a special call. He's a Bigfoot researcher with a passion so true, dedicated to the mystery, searching for the truth. With your camera in hand, the legend lives on. Chasing shadows, trying to find where he's gone.
That's amazing.
Yeah, but I think that night you could have cared less where he's gone.
That's right. That could be Grammy winning right there, Billy.
I told you, AI is, you know, might
That's
be
amazing.
on the chart. So here's the second one.
In the heart of Pennsylvania, where the mountains touch the sky, there's a man named Shawnker with the fire in his eyes. He walks through the woodlands with a sense of wonder and grace, searching for a creature that's elusive in this place. Oh, Sean Porter, you're a dreamer of the wild. You believe in something more beyond the ordinary smile. Every step you take, you leave Doris.
Now, I got a question. Is Adoris a word?
It is now. I think we could make it.
When I saw that and heard, it's like, wait a minute. I don't think that's a word.
I think, I don't know. I kind of like that, some of the lyrics of that one, but the first one still captured my heart.
Had that nice
the
soft
best.
rock. That
That's
nice
right.
soft rock ballet.
That was beautiful, Billy. That was beautiful.
Yeah. Oh, those things. It's, you know, Eric Altman was the one. Was it Eric? No. Steve Coles told me about that. And I said, I've got to try that. And I played with that thing for hours, just laughing, you know, at all the different things it could come up with.
Well, you definitely have a market on something here, man. That's amazing. That is hilarious.
Oh, man. All right. So just for a second here, I'm going to take just a quick break for about a minute. We'll have a little small advertisement, and then we'll be right back.
Woo-hoo.
I'll tell you, that's going to be a good time right there.
I think I will be there.
Yeah, that's going to be a good time. And just so everybody, here's the website there. Y'all check out that website. You'll see all the guests that are going to be there in September. And you never know who might show up, you know.
You won't. And I'll say
You
this,
know, even
Eric,
though there's guests on there, surprise people could show up. You just never know.
right. Eric always puts on a good event. I mean,
Oh yeah.
I've known him since he was doing the East Coast Bigfoot conferences. He always puts on a top-notch event. I've worked with him on a couple. I know he's very passionate on giving people their money's worth, so you can be rest assured it's going to be a good event.
Yeah. So the East Coast Bigfoot Conference was the first conference I ever went to. And
Yeah.
I went to every one until he, you know, quit doing them. And I had the best time at those events.
Well, that one I helped him put on had 630 some people at it at the time.
Oh yeah.
Before finding Bigfoot and before all these big mega conferences, that was the largest
Right.
attended conference at the time. And it was a
Right.
great event at Pitzer's there in Jeanette, which doesn't exist anymore now.
That's right. That's what I
It's
heard.
gone. Yeah, sadly. That was a great venue.
It really was.
They had a
It really
piece of
was.
peanut butter pie that was probably a pound or more.
Oh yeah. That is for sure. I tell you, we had
Nice.
some good time. All right.
Always.
So we talked about your sighting. So what we haven't talked about yet is all those years ago, what got you started in this?
Well, so, Billy, I grew up in a house where, it was always talked about. Like my grandfather had books of strange creatures of the Amazons and Vincent Price monsters, which I have a copy here that's still held together with duct tape. It's fallen apart because I loved that book. And then on a family trip to Virginia Beach, to where my uncle was, I wouldn't shut up on a car ride. My dad gave me a book, Sasquatch the Apes Among Us. I probably got for himself because my dad was always kind of into this. But I was the first one in our family that, aside from reading that book, went out and actually started doing things. About 13, 14
Right.
years old, I'm going out in the woods. I'm getting on the internet talking to people, which I don't recommend now. It's a different world.
No. No.
And like I was always a curious person. I always liked strange things. So When I was 17, I started going out and investigating sighting reports, and so I was immersed in it very young, and I started young. Like, I was the baby of the group, really. I don't even think I was 20 years old yet when I started, working with you guys and doing research and getting on the chats. I was still a young kid, and um, you guys were all just good people, right? And trustworthy people, and we just kind of all got on well, and then it became. I think that's one of the things that used to piss people off the most about me, Billy, is I was still a young kid doing radio programs and, always had a little way of being a little bit more mature than I guess I project, but, like it's been a passion of mine. Like I got addicted to this and I've dedicated a good portion of my life to it. Maybe sometimes more time than I should have. I've sacrificed family time more than I probably should have to do this, but I enjoy it. And my family knows it's a passion of mine. And people that laugh when they come to me, Billy, and they talk about it, like they like to make fun of it until they actually sit down and talk and understand that, man, he's real serious about this. This is like science to him. It's not a joke. And when you're laughing, like I want you to understand, folks, if you're a skeptic out there or just a general jerk who thinks this is funny, like you're laughing at people who have had some sort of traumatic experience. I mean, today we know the effects of trauma just aren't conducive to a battlefield. Like trauma affects people in many different ways. And some of these people's experiences are a lot worse than what I experienced. And not everybody has the same stable psyche. Some people are, more fragile than others, and it's taken its toll on people. So when you're laughing about it and making jokes, keep in mind, but there's real people that have experienced something that are suffering. And I kind of felt like my mission now is to talk to them and kind of give them peace of mind and saying, hey, I don't know what you saw, but you can trust me and we could talk about it and we'll work through it together.
Right. Yeah, sometimes being a good listener is better than being a good talker.
Sure.
Because sometimes people just want to be heard, because it helps them get it off their chest. It's like psychology. I mean, let's face it,
I think,
getting it off the chest.
I think you and I, from all the people we've talked to over the years, probably within the first 5 to 6 minutes of the conversation, know the validity of what's going on, right? Yeah. And the thing is, even with somebody who's not telling you the truth, you can still dismiss it with grace.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Right. If I was younger, I probably was a little bit more ignorant to that as I am today. And I don't know, it's a different modality. You learn as you grow and you get older and you deal with people more. Like the way I approach the research now is a heck of a lot different than I did when I was a kid. And I know a lot more. I've researched more. I've investigated more. I've had more general life experience to help bring me along the way. And it's helped me grow. And honestly, when I think about all the skills I've learned in the Bigfoot world, how they helped me translate in my personal life and the success I've had in the private sector, it's funny. Like a lot of it I got from the people I've met and the lessons and techniques I've learned through just being around people and learning people.
Yeah, right. I've talked to a lot of people too that I had one gentleman, I won't name his name, that had sent me an email, and he asked me, he goes, you remember the show where you interviewed me back in such and such year? And I was like, please forgive me, but I'd have to look it up because, there were several hundred shows.
Right.
So I found his show, and he said, could you please do me a favor and delete the show because it's affecting me getting a job.
Oh, wow.
And I said, well, yeah, I'll remove it. I said, but that's strange to me because every place I ever worked, people were like really interested, so that one time that again, this was a total surprise, where they put me on the front of the Washington Post. So I had that put on a plaque, and it sits on my desk at the state of Virginia. I have people come by all the time. Oh my goodness, we need to sit down and talk. I've never had anybody say, "Oh, you're a crazy nut. What are you doing here working here?"
Folks, Billy Willard gets that picture. I get a picture of me with being put in a headlock by a Bigfoot in the front page of the Patriot News. You know, Billy gets the more glamorous adventurer shot. I look like a maroon, but that's okay. Really love it. It's a
I
good
tell
time.
you, it's so funny. All right, so here's the big question that we used to talk about a lot. What do you think it's going to take to bring proof of the existence of Bigfoot?
Oh God, you know, it's going to take a body, no doubt. I think because the AI is getting so sophisticated, and it's not good though. You could say the same with special effects. You go to see Godzilla versus Kong in the movie theaters, you could tell they're computer generated. It's still not great, but it's still always going to lend some sort of ability to dismiss it. You're going to need a body. You're going to need many reputable scientists to look at this body, vet it, unfortunately take it apart. It's just, I don't think anything's going to satisfy it to that. I used to say it would take National Geographic quality, but I just don't even think that would buy it anymore.
Yeah, I agree. I think like you said, with the invention of AI, although there are things within AI that you can pick out, you know, just like we could Photoshop. Remember, Photoshop
Right.
used to be
Leaves a trail.
Yeah, you're gonna see something, and you know, we've already seen it. We've already seen them attempt it, you know, to use AI images and stuff. And don't get me wrong, some of the AI is really good, but you're still gonna pick something out of it. So.
Right. And it's just not, it's always going to create doubt and it'll never be good enough.
Right. So, if there was one thing you wanted everybody to know about you, what would it be?
You know, I don't know. I always wonder, you know, everybody asks you, what makes you so damn special? Nothing. I don't think I'm special. I think I have a huge heart. If anybody knows me, I'd do anything for anybody. I was really given a good God-born talent to really embrace and enjoy the positive. Even when the world's burning around me, I could still find that one thing to say, hey, you know what? At least we still have water. You know, I mean, I just, I guess that's just an overwhelming sense of positivity and a big heart is what I carry. I do care for people. When you're a podcasting personality, sometimes you rub people the wrong way. And I was just having this conversation at dinner tonight that there are people out there that don't like me, and I don't know why. I don't want everybody to like me, but I don't understand why they don't normally know me. They just know me as a personality that they get to see for 1 hour a week, and they don't know me or anything about me or my life history or my family story, or that I'm a dad, I'm a husband, I'm a best friend, a son. I, help take care of my grandparents. I love my family. There's nothing more important to me than my family. And, just those things, I guess. When you get to know me, I have a close circle of people I bring in that I trust. They're an extension to my family. I just care about people. I do want the best for everybody. Like we can look at each other as competitors. No, if you're successful, I'm successful. That's how I see it. You're adding more to this field that we need. Like it needs exposure. Not everybody's going to be good at it. Hell, there are days I think I could be better at it, right? But I want people to have success and enjoy the things they love, because if they're doing that, we're all contributing something positively to the environment we're trying to make better. That's all. And over the years, I've had my moments of being a royal grade A butthole too. But we grow as people.
We do. And I took a break. I took a break for me. I took a break for my family. I took a break and found God again, because I had dropped all that, and you can't live without those things and live a nice life. So,
and this can take so much more than it gives.
Yeah.
It can be an obsession, and it can be an unhealthy obsession. And Billy, we've seen people become very sick victims to different obsessions, that this being one of them, where they've given, for some, ounce of fame, I guess, for whatever it's worth to people. Like, you're not going to get famous doing this. You're not going to get rich doing it. I love Cliff. Cliff Burrackman's a good friend of mine. He's not living up on, you know,
Right.
in a penthouse in Park Avenue, you know, like
Right.
he runs a museum and he's got to go do talks to keep putting the museum together. Like he'll tell you, you're not
That's
going to
right.
get rich doing this. But I want to see our friends successful in this because the
Mhm.
attention of the right people getting the attention on this brings the right set of scientific interest to the community. Then we might get an answer to this mystery.
Yep, exactly.
Maybe.
All
Because
right,
we're not
here's
going to do
another.
it alone.
Here's another question. I know you've heard it a million times.
The tough ones.
Human or ape?
I don't know. In my heart of hearts, I would like it to be more ape-like because that's what it seems like to me. I think humans have the propensity to anthropomorphize everything. So we went through all these years of these things being reported as giant hairy apes. Somewhere along the line, they became wild men. And then
Hmm.
through our own devices, William Rowe, what he took a picture of wasn't a man. What he drew a picture of wasn't a man. It looked like an ape. That kind of
Yeah.
morphed into Patty. Patty looked like an ape to me. Like
Right.
all of a sudden, that somewhere after Patty, there came that schism. And then you go to Harry and the Hendersons, and it seemed like ever since Harry and the Hendersons happened, Bigfoot's looked more like a man than he's looked like a
Yeah.
Bigfoot to people. So
Right.
to me, I'm still on the ape category, but I can't definitively say for sure. Like
Right.
we don't know.
Yeah. Exactly. Let's see. So, are you going to be at any upcoming events? I know you said you're going to be at
Oh, yeah.
Pennsylvania Camp Out.
I'm going to be at the Penn, Ohio 2 conference in Hermitage, PA at the end of the month, the end of March. I'm going to be at the Ohio Bigfoot Conference at the beginning of May. I'm going to be at the Small Town Monsters Fest at the end of June, the beginning of July. Then I'm taking a little bit of a break until my good buddy Dan's getting married in August, and I can't miss that. He'd never forgive me. There's a Bigfoot event the weekend before, the Central PA Bigfoot Conference. And then there's the Pennsylvania Bigfoot Camping Weekend, and then the Mothman Festival at the end of the month. So like that's my year. And then after that,
A busy year.
right. I'm filming some stuff with Alex Pedikov for an upcoming project with Small Town Monsters. I've got all kinds of things going on behind the scenes, plus my own research. I still do field research. May not look at folks, but I still get out there. And Matt Arner and I are starting a really awesome new project that was inspired by the folks at the Olympic Project. So more information on that to come. You got to get Matt on here some point, Billy, to talk because he's a good dude and he knows his stuff.
Yeah, you can probably connect me up with him.
Oh, absolutely. Be my pleasure.
So, yeah. So these events that are coming up, if y'all want to see Sean Forker, he just named off all the events. Who's your mentors, Sean? Who are your mentors?
Well, at the end of the day, Eric Altman was the guy I connected with in the early 2000s and brought me into it. And rather he and I are shaking hands or headbutting each other or what, he's a man I love. I do.
Mm-hmm.
Don't always agree at things, but I owe a lot to him. He's a good dude. I would go to John Green as somebody who inspired me, and I had the opportunity to interview, but I never got a chance to meet him. In a way, Billy, I'd probably consider you and the guys mentors as well. We were kind of contemporaries, but in the beginning we were there and we learned, right? And we grew, and I've always supported one another. But, my mentor, if I had to put that stamp on somebody, it would still be Eric Altman. And, he and I, we still keep in touch. We still talk, and I owe a lot to him. I'm always thankful, always thankful.
Yeah, I would have to actually say that I kind of agree with you. When I first got into this, me and Eric hit it right off.
Right.
And so did us. So you and I, we all had a good relationship. But I would also have to add, as far as the research and the technology, I have to add William Dranginis.
Yeah, Bill. Can't forget Bill.
He really shared a lot of technology with me.
He's a pioneer, Bill. He really was. And I don't think a lot of his gadgets get a lot of thought. We were still talking about the I Gotcha camera still.
Yeah, right.
And I regret I never got to go out to the cabin in West Virginia that he had, because he always invited me out there. I never got a
Oh,
chance
yeah.
to go out.
Oh, yeah.
Regrets, folks.
Yeah.
Folks, and I'll
I
say
did
that,
go.
Billy, I
I
guess
did go to the cabin.
you,
I did go to the
appreciate your friends and just let them know you love them, because you don't know when they're
That's
here
it.
next.
That's exactly it. You know, and
don't.
stop the fighting. Stop the fighting, and just make up. You know,
Right.
go to an event. You know, go to someplace and just meet up and say, hey, you know what? Let's just sit down and let's talk about whatever problem we have with each other.
Right. Absolutely.
It's the life is too short to be angry all the time, and anger can kill you. So.
Yeah. Amen. I agree with that wholeheartedly, Billy. Really do.
All right, tell everybody, Sean. I know that your show comes on at the same time as mine, but you go ahead and tell everybody where they can see you.
Yeah, SasquatchExperience.com. You can go to Facebook.com/Sasquatch Experience. We are on at the same time as Billy, but I still cater to the podcast. I have a face for radio, as my mom always used to say. So we do that. You know, honestly, it's, you know, I love that you're back, and I came on tonight because I wanted to show my support and welcome you back officially to the airwaves, because it's always nice to have contemporaries with a stable judgment and good brains back on the air with us. Something that's been absent for a while.
I won't make a comment about that. I'm not sure how stable, but you know.
Well, listen, I work with James Baker every week. Okay, he's my best friend. But we know those brains.
Sean, it was nice having you.
Oh,
Thank
my
you so
pleasure,
much,
Billy.
for being
Thank you.
here. You know, I look at it like this. You know, even though we're on at the same time live, I think the majority of people listen to the archive show anyway.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, absolutely. 100% agreed.
Because whenever I look at these numbers, you know, I look at the analytics. You know, you may have a few on live, but then as the days go on, the number just skyrockets. So.
Right. It's amazing how quick it jumps. And like I said, I don't care so much about the live. I like the podcast numbers. So they, you know, just listen to the podcast, folks. That's all I care about. That's what pays the bills. Bills the podcast.
Yep, exactly. And Robin, I couldn't agree
Robin.
more. It's what we need to do.
She's right. Absolutely.
But Sean, thank you very much.
My pleasure, Billy. Thank you, man.
And I'm sure that we'll see each other soon.
You betcha.
All right. So thank you, everybody, for tuning in. And we will see you next Monday night. We'll have Amy Boo coming on next week. And, yeah, I'm going to enjoy that because I've never had the opportunity to talk to Amy. So she seems like a really down-to-earth girl. So.
I love Amy. Tell her I said hello.
I will do that. And again, thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Sean, thank you for being a guest. And we'll see you next Monday night, 9 p.m. And Sean, if you could just hang on for a moment, I'll be right back.